Football fans, what is going on? You are listening to another episode of Rush Hour, the podcast brought to you by Nikki herself, the lead host. And of course, you got me, Spartan Mike. For all you football fans out there, lots of exciting action this past weekend. We got lots to unpack and lots to talk about. Also, a lot to address for this upcoming weekend. Of course, we got the Super Bowl right around the corner. It's the best time of year for football. And of course, I do got to mention, this show is brought to you by Astroflave. Trying to get ripped, you're trying to get cut, trying to get swole, whatever you're trying to do, Astroflave has got exactly what you need. They are a New Jersey brand, and they are sugar-free supplements, so you don't have to worry about, unhealthy consumption while you guys are trying to work out. So, again, welcome to another episode. Nikki, what's going on?
Well, it's been a weekend. I'll say that. But I want to give a shout out first before we get started, Spartan, to my friends at Legendary USA. So this is what you get when you wear so many leather jackets. They invite you to come take a sneak peek at their new store that's opening. So if anybody is going to be at the Jersey Shore area in the next few months, they should be opening. And they just have really great product, high quality craftsmanship. So I'm super excited for them to open. I'll be popping in there here and there. So they're going to have everything you need for riding. So your riding gear, bikes, trying on, the leather jackets, the vest, everything. Check out the performance. So Legendary USA, they're going to be opening in Bricktown, New Jersey. So I will keep everybody posted on that. That said, I should probably have vodka in my Astroflave water bottle today. Truth always says I do, but I don't. But I should have today because it was a rough weekend, right? I mean,
yeah, for all Giants fans, look, I was just telling Nikki behind the set, the Giants outpaced all expectations, right? They got to the divisional round. If you told me they got to the divisional round, I would have been completely happy at the beginning of the year. But they had to lose. They had to get obliterated by our beloved brethren down in Philadelphia, the Eagles. And their fans could not have been louder and more obnoxious. And it just brought me back to those childhood memories growing up in the Philly area, coming back to school the next day after Miracle of the Meadowlands, and just knowing the Eagles got us once again and made us feel terrible. So, yes, a lot of us had to fill our Astroflave cups with vodka this week, and that's okay. You can do. There's no sugar in their supplements. You can mix it in with all their stuff for all we care. But we definitely needed some healing after that one, Nikki. What was going through your head during the game? And, of course, what were you doing for the game?
So some of my family are Eagles fans. So, we were watching together, which was tough. And I know we'll get into it a little bit later, but I'll just say this. I mean, I wasn't totally shocked. I kind of expected this in a primetime game at the Link. So listen, like you said, they exceeded expectations, and we'll talk about it more as the show goes on. I know we have some guests coming on too, but let's talk about obnoxious fans, shall we?
Hell yeah, let's do it.
Okay, I'm sorry, but the Cowboys fans, did they not take this loss so personal? They acted like they were actually on the team. They acted like they went out there, put the pads on, that they played. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So, and I could say this, my brother is a diehard Cowboys fan, unfortunately. I mean, and just the entire fan base, they were just a complete wreck. And you know what? I find it funny because all year we have to hear we them boys and we're going to the Super Bowl. And I mean, it's constant. They start in June and they don't ever shut up about it.
I know.
How obnoxious.
And what I find baffling is every time they blow in the postseason, which has been every year since I've been alive, they seem to find some excuse. It's always on the refs. It's always on anybody else but their team just crumbling.
Yeah, and a lot of them said that. They said, oh, this game was on the refs. Actually, out of all the games this weekend, I thought that one was called the most fairly, and I thought they actually let them play. There wasn't a flag on every single play in that game. I think it really comes down to, and I've said this for years now, I just think Mike McCarthy is not a good coach. He has clock management issues. And I don't know that Dak Prescott is their guy. So many people want to say, well, is Daniel Jones your guy? Well, is Dak Prescott the guy in Dallas?
His inconsistencies, I believe that Dak, because you bring up an excellent point. On Daniel Jones's worst games, I don't think they're actually as worse as Dak's worst games. Now, Dak has had some very impressive performances in games I've seen before, to the likes that Jones has had great games, but I do think Dak's best games he's ever played are just a little, higher than where Jones was. But the consistency is just not there with the dude. He comes off a great game against Tampa. I mean, he played horrible yesterday. It was incredible.
Yeah. Alex says Cowboy fans are worse than Eagles fans. Oh, that's a
Alex,
that's a hell of a debate.
Are you from New Jersey? Are you Giants fan outside of the New Jersey area? How did you come to this conclusion? Because I wholeheartedly disagree.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like, Eagles and Giants fans can agree that Cowboys fans are horrible, but I don't know. It's really, really tough. Like, Eagles fans are pretty brutal.
I'm with you. And I'm impressed with Dak's. Well, here's the one thing I will say about Dak. I don't really dislike him as a player. I actually liked him coming out of the draft, as a person, really. But he plays for the Cowboys, so I have to diss him a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm not giving him any benefit of the doubt. He plays for the Cowboys. Alec, you're from New Jersey. Alec, come on, man. You're from New Jersey. And you're still saying it's
But where in New Jersey is the question?
Yes, Alec, where are you from? You're from Summit. You're from Ridgeway. If you're up north, I mean, I don't want to hear it. But if you're from down south, I'd be very surprised that you came to that conclusion. Mark B, Philly fans are the worst. I like him. Nope, sorry, there it is. Real Cold G. All right, he was being sarcastic about it.
All right, Cold. All right. We gotta get. How come nobody's invented a sarcastic font? We need that.
I know. I wish you could color it orange, and that was like the universal symbol for sarcasm or something.
Sarcasm. Yeah.
Well,
but who seems to be the guy though? What does San Francisco do now with Brock Purdy? With Brock Purdy, you have Trey Lance, and you really don't know what you've gotten him because you haven't been able to see him play consistently. And then, of course, you have Jimmy G. Now, of course, you hear the rumors, Jimmy G to Tampa Bay. Hear people saying they want Jimmy G over to, New York instead of Daniel Jones. But if you're San Francisco, right now you have 3 quarterbacks. So to me, you have no quarterback. But what do you do with Trey Lance now? If they win and they beat the Eagles this weekend and he's taking them to the Super Bowl, I mean, what do you do?
From what I understand and from what I've heard, it sounds like they're going to go forward with Brock.
Yeah.
They haven't lost yet under Brock. I'm surprised about that. I look back, I know they've been undefeated for a long stretch, but I didn't realize that it's encompassed that entire winning stretch with Brock coming in. Watching his game tape, look, I often wonder with quarterbacks, and there's a lot of debate here. How much does it depend on the team to elevate you, to elevate your performance, to enable you to succeed? And I look at a guy like Brock Purdy, how do you come out of the 7th round of the draft and you're out here balling? And, I don't know what the answer is, but quite frankly, he is really good at moving around the pocket. And I feel like that's the most underrated feature that you can have in a quarterback. Mahomes is a very good example of a guy, he went 10, but he wasn't like the clear-cut number 1 pick in the 2017 NFL draft. But, when he got to the NFL, nobody does it better than him moving around the pocket. I'm not talking running, going 80 yards and running for a touchdown. I'm talking getting out of the pocket, maneuvering, keeping the play alive.
Yeah.
Mahomes does that better than anyone else. But I'll tell you what, Purdy has done a damn good job. It would be tough not to give him the starting position back next year.
Yeah, I think you have to, right? But then how do you get, how does anybody take a look at Trey Lance and see what they've gotten him? That's a risk, I think.
I agree with that. But, that's what's incredible about the 49ers right now. They have so much bargaining power. If they wanted to trade, they could trade 2 quarterbacks theoretically for first-round picks.
Yeah, I mean, they really could. They have so much talent on that team. Something I saw on social media, and you take it for where it's coming from, it was a bunch of Dallas fans crying. But they said Dak doesn't have any talent around him. And I'm like, you got CeeDee Lamb. You want to talk about no talent at wide receiver? I mean, listen, Isaiah Hodgins for the Giants has certainly stepped up, but it's not like we're out here balling with, a plethora of talented wide receivers. So I actually disagree. I mean, they've had one of the best O-lines in the league for a very long time. I don't think it's the talent around Dak. I think it is Dak.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I mean, you look at the Cowboys, you know what's funny? They've always been like this. They're always that all-star team. Like they have all the talent in the world, but they never really quite sink and glue and become a formidable, playoff team where they're consistently executing. That's what's always been amazing about me. I'll even take that back to the years of Romo. That's always what it seemed like. They had tons of Pro Bowl potential guys, and they just didn't click to win. They would go 8-8. It's a very strange thing what happens in Dallas with that.
Like
they
the
always
kicking game?
in the world and they don't execute.
How about their kicker?
Nikki, let me ask you this. What would you do if you're the general manager and your kicker missed that field goal yesterday? Let's say the Cowboys won that game somehow. Would you cut him before the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I think I would, because now I think like it's in his head, right? And we touched on this a few weeks ago with the whole Kenny Galladay and that being in your head, and it kind of gets to you. So I think when the kick was blocked, I even tweeted like, oh my God, there's no way, like this is going to get to this guy. Like, and he did make a couple after that, but I just couldn't believe that kick was blocked and they missed again. But if he missed it, I would, because then I think it's just, you're in your head at that point.
I'm with you. And hypothetically, right, if this were to play out, it has happened before where a player's been cut right before the Super Bowl. Granted, this would have been before championship round. It actually happened against the Giants. The Patriots that year, 2011, they cut Tyquan Underwood the night before the Super Bowl because they needed an extra position for cornerback. But really, again, by the Cowboys yesterday, just what a piss poor performance, I would go as far as to say that team was more talented than the 2007 and 2011 Giants. I'll go ahead and say it. Yeah. But again, there's just like that missing glue with them executing. And I swear it always comes from the coaching and then just lack of consistency with the quarterback.
Yeah. I'm not a Mike McCarthy fan. Listen, he had an issue in Green Bay with clock management. He still has that issue. I'd be interested to see if you think his seat is hot of all the coaching seats that are going to be awfully warm.
Yeah, I would have to say so. I mean, look, there have been coaches, and I'll even say one that they shouldn't have done this, but the coach for the I am drawing a huge blank right now. Colts, 2006. Who was that coach? Tony Dungy. Yeah, he was with the Buccaneers, and he was getting them to divisional round games, consistently in the late 90s, early 2000s, and they fired him. They shouldn't have done that. He was a Super Bowl winning coach. They just thought that he was like holding them back. Very stupid. Granted, they did win the Super Bowl the next year, but whatever. But, I do think McCarthy is a little bit of that. He's good enough to get you to the playoffs when you have all the talent in the world. But Mike McCarthy fails so consistently. He fails to shake it up. He has terrible clock management. He's awful, awful, awful in those 2-minute drills.
Oh, the worst I've ever seen. That might have topped the Baltimore game last week with those last 2 to 4 minutes. I don't know what they were doing against Cincinnati. That was a mess. But Chris brings up a good point. He says the Cowboys remind me of Green Bay. Great during the regular season, but horrible in the playoffs.
Right.
Are they equal like that?
I'd say it's very similar because, again, the Packers in the 2010s were very similar to what the Cowboys are now. Loaded with talent. Yeah. They make the playoffs. A lot of times they get that first round, get a first round bye, a home game. I know they didn't this year, but they don't do anything in the playoffs.
No.
And that was always amazing to me in Green Bay because they had the home field advantage, too, of the cold weather during that stretch. But you remember 2011, I'll always go back to this. It was the weirdest game ever. The Giants didn't just beat the Packers that year in Green Bay. They killed them.
Yeah.
A 15-1 Packers team at home with a week of rest went in the divisional game and played like complete crap, and the Giants ran it down the throats. McCarthy has a playoff problem. There's no doubt about it.
I like that. He has a playoff problem. He doesn't win. Yes, he doesn't win in the playoffs. We'll see what happens there with his seat. I know Sean Payton is getting rumor is every team wants him, right? I've heard Tampa Bay and Brady's going back with him. Then it's New Orleans, then it's Denver. And supposedly Tom Brady's supposed to be following him everywhere. And then it's Dallas. And then listen, I don't know. How would Denver work? You just signed Russell Wilson. I don't think you're taking Tom Brady and Sean Payton. So realistically, where do you think he would end up? I kind of agree with the audience. I don't think he's a good fit in Dallas. I think he would push back on Jerry Jones, but would he come back home to New Orleans?
No, he wouldn't come back home to New Orleans because he was unhappy there the last couple of years. From what we were hearing, I'm not going to say who it was, but Craig and I were talking to one of our guests on last year that you went in on this, that it was privately known that Sean Payton was very unhappy in New Orleans. I doubt he goes back there, but I feel like, and I don't know about this Brady connection, but I mean, I feel like Denver would be an attractive option. You have a quarterback that's talented. They just need that coaching to kind of get them over that hump. I mean, I don't know. Do you think? I mean, I guess the question is there. I mean, is Russell Wilson cooked, or did he just have a bad year because of a lack of surrounding talent and a horrible coach?
Listen, I think that most Giants fans can sit here and say we have seen what good coaching can do for a team and how it can elevate a quarterback that you think is struggling or isn't the guy. So I think in Denver, that is part of it. They have a fantastic young defense. So that defense is going to be a problem for quite some time. I know they were just getting ripped up with injuries on offense. I don't think Nathaniel Hackett and Russell Wilson were a good fit for each other. I don't think Nathaniel Hackett was a good coach at all whatsoever. So I think a coaching change will do Russell Wilson a lot of good, because to me, it's like he didn't just forget how to play football. You know, I know Pete Carroll was a really good coach for him and was able to cover up some of that, but it's like you got to Denver and you forgot what you were doing. How does that work?
Right.
You know, so I think maybe if Sean Payton goes there, that wouldn't be such a horrible thing. So I don't know. We'll see. But Tom Brady's also doesn't he have like a $35 million broadcasting contract waiting for him? So
he does. And I don't know. You know, it's funny. I try to wonder with his, we don't really talk about personal issues with the players here, but yeah. That man's going through a divorce, but he's also divorcing somebody who's even richer than he is. So what does the alimony separation work, and Tom Brady, and you know, who gets the 200 million and who gets the 100 million? What's the situation here?
Rich people problems.
Yeah, that's a problem many of us will never have to face.
Yeah, right. Fighting over hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm sure he'll be back, Tom Brady. I think, you know, I don't think that I think Todd Bowles is a great defensive coordinator. We've seen him with the Jets as a head coach. We've seen him in the Bucs as a head coach. I don't think that he's a great head coach. So I don't know that, you know, Todd Bowles and Tom Brady worked really well together. But I don't know. If I'm Brady, I think like I'm ready to just hit the broadcasting booth and that's it.
Yeah, I agree. Let me ask you this, and let me ask the fans this, because I want to hear everyone's opinion here. Why does Tom Brady still want to play football? He's going to be 46 this year. He's already proven that he's the best quarterback in terms of his legacy of all time. I'd argue there's been more talented quarterbacks, but he goes out there and proves it every week that he can ball, and you know, and he's declining right now. And I don't think for his health that it's a good thing to play 25 seasons of football at quarterback. You know, he's risking his brain and his body at every turn. And we had Chase Blackburn come on the show. He's like, we all talk about it. You know, when he gets together with football players behind closed doors, how is Brady doing it? So I want to ask you, Nikki, why do you think Brady's still playing?
I think that nothing's good enough, right? I thought for a while there was a number maybe in his head. Like, I want to win X amount of Super Bowls. I don't think there is. I think it's just, I'm going to go until my body just physically cannot take it anymore. I think that this football grind is all that he knows. I mean, we joke about it, but essentially just like gave up his marriage and family for the game. So, I think Mark is right. He's married to the game. I think it's all he knows. I think it's in his DNA. And I don't think there's a number for him. I don't think there's a number in terms of how many Super Bowls he wants to win, in terms of how old he wants to be when he leaves. I just think he's going to go until he can't go anymore. And it's kind of sad because it's that whole Peyton Manning thing, right? Like, we had to watch Peyton Manning on the decline. It's like, you don't want to watch the greats go out like this, you know?
Yeah,
but now
again, on top.
Yeah, listen, they won the Super Bowl, 2 years ago? I mean, he got drunk. We saw happy Tom Brady. He probably had a burger because he just eat soy and like I don't know.
I probably couldn't even like process it correctly anymore.
Yeah, like I probably would have rode off into the sunset, but I think that's all he knows. So
Because I'll be honest with you, Nikki, as someone who's played football,
yeah,
football games are a lot of fun. Football itself is really not all that fun. The practice sucks. You get yelled at by your coach. You're doing up downs on Tuesdays. It's foot I always compare it to Lucky Charms. The marshmallows is what you look forward to, and that's what the
yes,
games are. It's fun. It's energizing.
yes.
Everything else about football is that cereal crap, and that takes up 95% of your life. That's what you do, the practice, the workouts, everything like that. That's why I'm amazed Brady's still doing this. I figured he would have gotten that like 6th ring and be like, all right, I'm done. I've proven everything I can. Time to relax and drink and eat burgers or whatever.
Yeah.
That sounds a little happier than playing football at 46, in my opinion.
Yeah, God, especially he goes back to New England, which is the other rumor that's buzzing around. Is our guest? I know we have a guest coming on at 7:30. Just wanted to see if they were in the waiting room yet or not before.
We're waiting at this time.
No. Okay. All right. So let's talk about a team that I was shocked seemed to forget how to play in cold weather. Did you watch Buffalo Cincinnati?
I did.
I feel like the Bills, what happened here, right? It was like it started snowing, and if any team I feel like could have, been able to play in the weather, it would have been them. But they look like they were just so unprepared for this game. Like they just had cobwebs. I don't know. They absolutely blew this game. And I know that's like it's like their MO, right? Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. I just now, and listen, I on the side am a big Cincinnati fan. I love Joe Burrow. I love that combination of him and Jamar Chase. The Bengals have quietly been having one hell of a season since October. And it's like nobody's talking about them again. Still, I feel like they're getting a little bit disrespected. Nobody expected them to be in the AFC Championship game. They got it together. They put that O-line together. That defense is playing well. But then here comes Buffalo, just kind of like completely out of it. That was not the performance I was expecting yesterday.
Yeah, surprising at home, and because look, I do want the Bills to eventually win a Super Bowl. I feel bad for their fans. I feel bad for that organization. They go so long with being so bad.
Yeah.
That over the next few years, while they're good, I want them to succeed. I want them to win the Super Bowl. I don't want to see the Eagles win the Super Bowl. I really don't care to see. 49ers. I need them to win this game, but I don't really want them to win the Super Bowl.
Wow.
So the Bills blowing it again is a little heartbreaking, especially after the Damar Hamlin incident. I really thought that they would kind of like sweep the playoffs and whatever. I got lost in the fantasy of that kind of like a happy ending, but that's just kind of a sad way to end it.
Yeah, I thought for sure with Damar Hamlin being there, and I just thought that stadium was going to be electric. I thought like adrenaline and emotion was going to take over because we've seen that happen with players. I mean, you'll remember when Brett Favre's dad died. I mean, game of his life, right? So sometimes when those things happen, the team kind of rallies around and they pull together. But that didn't happen, and I was really thoroughly shocked. So
I'm with you.
Bills blow it again. And I have to tell you, of the teams remaining, I'm like all in on Cincinnati. I hope they do it.
I'd love for Cincinnati to pull this off. I mean, same problems with their experience the last half century, that the Bills had. So I would love it. Real quick, because this is going back, but I just saw this comment and absolutely lost it because I thought this was so freaking funny. Where the hell is it? I'll make this quick. Brady's institutionalized. This got me thinking. That is like, I feel like if he got forced into retirement, it quite literally would be like that scene with Brooks and Shawshank, where he's getting out, getting walked out of the prison onto the bus, but he doesn't know what to actually do with his life.
Yeah, he doesn't know what to do. That's kind of, it's funny.
I tried being, I tried working at this grocery store or something, and I just didn't like it. Yeah, we're going that direction.
Could you imagine? Like, I can't imagine. Brady probably doesn't know what to do with himself. He just walks away and he's probably like, what do I do? Like, you don't have to do TB12 anymore. Like, you can eat real food. It's okay. You don't have to do like.
He looks at his kids like, who are these people? Am I supposed to enjoy being with them?
which is exactly what I think happened when, he wasn't sure if he was coming back. Remember the retirement leaked and, he wanted to be home with the kids and Giselle. And all of a sudden it was like, no, I'm coming back.
He spent 2 weeks with his wife and kids. Like, maybe not. I don't really want to do Christmas. I heard he didn't do Christmas with them for like 20 years. Like, dude,
no,
what were you doing?
I know. No, I'm telling you, you're right. He was home with them for a couple of weeks. It was just like, yeah, no, F this. I'd rather go back to football.
Divorce and I'll play football. That's the fun life. But all right, guys. Hey, look, we got a special guest here. I want to welcome on the show, Alex.
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me.
Hi, Alex. How are you?
I'm doing. Would have been doing better if we were coming off a win, but
yeah,
you guys were hyping me back up. Y'all got me back on a level a little bit. Like, we're excited about the future.
All right. Yeah, we're excited about the future. And we'll get into it. But just so we could get your thoughts, we talked about Cincinnati, Buffalo, and we talked about Dallas, San Francisco. So did you watch both of those games? You want to give us your thoughts real quick on what you saw? We're kind of touching on Mike McCarthy has a playoff problem. Dallas has a Dak problem. San Fran has 3 quarterbacks, so that's a problem as well. And Buffalo keeps circling the wagon.
Yeah, I guess I'll just start with the Dallas one because that was the one I was the most happy about probably all weekend. I don't know. I know you always say Mike McCarthy does have a playoff problem. I 100% agree with you, but I love it. I hope he stays forever. Let's keep that around for a long time. I don't know. It kind of felt like the Cowboys were in a similar situation where the Giants were. Obviously, I think the Cowboys have more skill on their team than we do currently. But we beat a Vikings team that a lot of people said was overrated. They beat a Bucs team that was 8-9, and I think that you saw obviously the 49ers are not an 8-9 team. So when they're matched up against a obviously superior opponent, even if with a rookie quarterback, they weren't able to figure it out. And there were so many mishaps and just was it Dalton Schultz dropped that would-be first down that probably would have set him up to score again. There were just a bunch of really close plays that they just kind of couldn't come up with. And a lot of it is just you got to have your big players make the big plays when it mattered. Pollard going down also didn't help, but I don't think they would have won even if he was in that game for him. With the Bills, I don't know. I think Cincy just is kind of on a revenge tour. If you look at the way they played this season, they kind of struggled out the gate. Jamar Chase goes down with the hip injury. Everybody kind of writes him off. And that was almost like what they did last year where they were struggling. They were kind of sputtering for a little bit. And then they figured it out kind of just past the midway point of the season. And they kept chugging on into the Super Bowl. I think this year we're just more aware of who the Bengals are. And Joe Burrow is the real deal.
He really is. I love that kid. He's just always what did he say yesterday? Better get them refunds.
Get them refunds. So yeah.
He was just so funny. All right, let's talk about, because we have to, because it happened, Jacksonville, Kansas City. Did anybody watch this game? Anybody?
I did. I
did watch it. Listen, I'll give it to Jacksonville. I hung in there for a good 10 minutes, right? And then it kind of got out of hand. And I was like, maybe I'll change the channel. But I do want to give props to Doug Peterson. I know we hated him in Philly. I get that. But let's take that out of it. I think he's a damn good coach. I was excited for him to go to Jacksonville because I just thought that he would be a great coach for Trevor Lawrence and be able to coach him up and this team. I think they're really young, and I think they have a really bright future ahead of them. Listen, Kansas City, that's a tall order. Talk about not giving a team a chance in hell. I mean, I think we all know that. I think they did the best that they could. So I'm sure Doug Peterson's back. I like what he's building there in Jacksonville. What do you guys think?
I kind of like what Chris in the chat said. Jaguars are the Giants of the AFC, and I do tend to compare everything to the Giants in a certain way. The Jaguars are ahead of schedule. They have a really good coach, and we saw this year more than ever. I think that where y'all were talking about Hackett just failing in Denver, I think good coaching wins games, and the Giants didn't have the most talented roster, but they were able to do things. I think the Jaguars are a little bit further along with future pieces than the Giants are, and you saw how they were able to come back and win that division, even though it was a weak division this year, because that was Tennessee's division to lose pretty much from week 5 this year, and they did lose it. And I think Jacksonville's obviously way ahead of schedule. They're going to probably be competing with the Titans for the next couple of years in that division. But yeah, just they're not ready yet. And when you get up against even an injured Mahomes, that Chiefs team was just not having it, and they gave it their best.
Yeah, that ankle injury I can't believe they kept him in.
I can't believe they kept showing that. That hurt to watch.
I know. Spartan, what do you think? Are you excited for Jacksonville? Do you not care?
No, I definitely care because like Jaguars are one of those teams in the whole 2010s decade. Really, '06 they last made the playoffs in '07 when the Giants won the Super Bowl. And then between then and now, I mean, they're a dysfunctional poverty franchise. They did go to an AFC championship game and almost win it, but that was the biggest fluke year I've ever seen in my life. They go 5-11, 5-11, 5-11, 10-6, almost go to the Super Bowl. 5-11, 5-11. Yeah, I think they're the real deal. They got a good coach, and they also have a franchise quarterback. So I mean, it's hard to say that they're not going to be a very good team moving forward here over the next few years.
They also have a tight end who all of a sudden went to Jacksonville and decided he's going to catch balls and crucial catches, at that, unlike when he was in New York. All right, guys, let's talk about it. We said we'd save. It's not really the best for last, but listen, I kind of got a little bit of heat on social media because I said that I expected this, and it kind of went exactly as I thought it would. And people were saying, "Oh, Nikki, you expected a loss." Listen, if this series was a little more equal, maybe I would have felt better. But the Eagles have the Giants' number, even on a good year. I mean, there's years where the Eagles are terrible and the Giants are the better team, and they still can't beat the Eagles, right? So now, this Philly team is crazy talented. We have to give them that. They are. And if you watch that compared to the Giants, the talent gap is just glaring. So now it's a primetime Saturday night game. You're at Lincoln Financial. I just was like, the Giants are going to shit the bed. Because I expected nothing else. I haven't seen enough of them to play when they play against Philly to think that they wouldn't do that. So in terms of what you saw, now I thought they'd be a little more fired up. I thought they'd bring it a little bit more, but I just think that the Giants were totally overmatched. So in terms of performance, was that in line with what you guys thought was going to happen, or were you shocked? Alex?
I really didn't like going in. I was like, I hope we don't get blown out. I was like, maybe we can be frisky in the first quarter, but I was the only way we could really win that game was if we got a lead early and we're able to run the ball, because Philadelphia just scores too fast, and the Giants aren't a team that can play from behind. And we went down double digits early. It was kind of like, all right, that's probably the way this is going to go. But yeah, I think that we were just outmatched in just about every single position. Daniel didn't play his best game after what he had done the last couple of starts that he had, but like, yeah, nobody played their best game, but I think the Philly's just that much better. And just, we are a team that is like, we weren't supposed to be at this point in the season, and to be in the Final Four in a conference was pretty awesome. But like, we aren't ready for that spotlight yet with the team that we had. And I mean, when you have like 3 of our starting 4 receivers were on the practice squad at one point this season, like they're not going to go up against Slay and Bradbury and be able to make plays. And I hate the Bradbury slander coming back to us for cutting him. It's like, we had to cut him, man. It was a cap thing. Like, we love it. We wanted him, but like, we love James Bradbury when he was here. I wish he was with literally anyone else besides them.
He had to get cut because of a Gettleman failure. I mean, we ran out of money.
Does that piss you off, right? Like, I'm sitting there thinking the same thing, Spartan. Like, if it wasn't for Gettleman, maybe we have Bradbury.
Because we might have to do the same thing with Leonard Williams this year. And that's the problem. It's like, look, I want all the talent in the world that we can get. And I hate having to get rid of talent, creating holes in positions that we need, like cornerback, and then watching teams like the Eagles get one of our star players on a cheap deal because, we cut them. Yeah, it really pisses me off. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, it sucks. It's unfortunate. And I feel like we was like having a revenge game for some reason. Like, it just, I felt like he was taking it out on us, right?
Yeah. But when you look at like, just going back to like how the Giants were like way ahead of where they were supposed to be. Like, when you look at all the stuff, like the just cap hell that we were in when Shane and Dabes took over, like the fact that they were able to just put together a roster that was in the divisional round was absolutely insane. Like, I don't think any like Giants fan expected to win necessarily. No. Like you made, like, I projected the hell out of last week. I was like, yeah, we're gonna win. I'm not scared of the Eagles, but like deep down inside, I was like,
really? You went on social media and said that you're not scared of the Eagles?
I was just, I just gas up my team always. I'm always going to ride or die, even though I know I'm going to be wrong, and then I'm going to deny it and spin zone it as much as I can. Right. But yeah, I don't know. I think that there was no way we were coming out of that unless just the Eagles played terribly. Once you kind of saw that Hurts was not
hurt,
still rusty or hurt, yeah, like you're like, this is gonna suck.
Well, that's part of like what we need in an upset too. We need the other team to not play their best game, and I mean the thing is the Eagles just brought their A game. Like they were so flawless at executing the other on Saturday that it really eliminated any hope or dream that I had that we really had a shot. You saw it early, but let me ask you this: and I want both your opinions, and you can go on as long as you need to answer this question. And fans, answer in the comments. What's a reasonable goal for the Giants next year? Nikki, I'll start with you. What's a reasonable goal, and what steps do the Giants have to do in order to kind of obtain that next level of success?
God, it feels kind of like if you don't make the playoffs with, you have this ragtag team that you put together, and God knows they really just put together this ragtag team of like misfits. Sometimes is how it's felt, piecemeal together, and you made it to the playoffs. So it kind of feels like, I assume this year you're going to address this talent situation the best that you can. I just think let's be consistent, right? I don't want to backslide into, 3-4 win team. I would just like to see them be more competitive against teams that I know they can be more competitive against, like that Detroit game. I mean, they should have been a lot more competitive. They had like that 4-week skid where, they just wasn't clicking for them. So I don't want to see them backslide, but I do want to see them keep this momentum going forward. I want to see consistency, 9-10 wins. I'm not saying playoffs every year, but again, let's see the consistency of a winning football franchise.
I'm kind of right there with what Nikki was saying. Like we need to see consistency going forward. Like I am absolutely terrified of like having like that magic McAdoo year we had in 2016, where it was like we won a bunch of 1-score games. We were like we had a better talented team, I think, at that point. But it's like we had all these like stretches of like, oh well, Giants are the best team in the league in 1-score games, kind of like the Vikings were this year. And then we played the Packers and it just fell apart. And then we sucked after that. And I mean, you can say it was the boat trip curse. I'd like to say that, but like you can't go to that. We can't have a 6-win season next year. And I think that Dable and Shane kind of have like a system set up. They just were in cap hell, like we were saying. And it's like they were so limited to what they could do. Now it may sacrifice Leonard Williams, but you have 2 big decisions with Danny and Saquon coming up that you're going to have to deal with. But I think like I would like the Giants need to be a mainstay in the playoffs. They need to be competing for a playoff spot every single year, and we're due to win the NFC East. I don't know, like I think Philly kind of mortgaged their future for like a 1 year for this, and then they're going to have to build on the future because they have all those draft picks. They're more in win now mode. The Cowboys, I feel like, have a 2-year window right now before everything else is going to fall apart.
Line falls apart, the running backs fall apart. But you know what? They do replace talent pretty well in Dallas. The talent's never really an issue.
Unfortunately.
Yeah,
we just need to hopefully what I'm seeing from we can't beat Dallas and we can't beat Philly. And who was it? Dwight Freeney they drafted JJ Watt for the Texans. I live here in Houston. And like I remember they were like, we drafted JJ Watt to sack Peyton Manning because we couldn't beat the Colts. And so it's like we're gonna have to build teams that can beat the Cowboys and beat the Eagles. And then like hopefully what if we had some dominance over them? Because we're always in the wrong side of that. Like if you're playing 4 games a year against them, you got to build a team that can beat them. And they are 2 of the most talented teams in the league. So you got to find ways to get those guys. If you can stop the Eagles and the Cowboys regularly, you're gonna be able to hang with just about anybody in the league, I think. And hopefully that's the way that they're going with that.
And it's funny because I always think more about the Eagles, Robert, because I grew up in Philadelphia. But you're right. I mean, we've done just as bad against Dallas as we have been against Philly. And, we do pretty good against the Redskins the Commanders overall.
Words.
But those wins don't, I mean, to a Giants fan, let's be real. Those wins don't really mean that much to us. I don't care about beating Washington. It means nothing. I get no value add out of it.
We expect it now.
Right. We expect it now. And I don't really dislike their fans that much. But when we beat the Eagles and the Cowboys, it's rare. But I mean, God almighty, it feels so good.
God, it feels good.
It does.
It feels so freaking good because it just doesn't happen ever. But I mean, to your point, Alex, you're right. They're going to have to at some point figure out a way to build this team to beat talented teams like the Cowboys, like the Eagles. I mean, you're not going to be able to be successful in the NFC, especially if the NFC East is like, it's like we're up and coming now, this division. We were bottom of the barrel for a really long time. And now there's a lot of talent. There's a lot of young talent in this division too. So this franchise going to be prepared to deal with this for a really long time. Listen, Jalen Hurts is going to be in Philly probably for quite some time. So, we're going to have to figure it out. And I really, really hope next season that they can pull this together. So in the press conference today, Joe Shane had said, and I was tweeting this out just to make sure everybody, was aware. Of course, GM speak and Daboll spoke and your typical canned GM coach answers, but they made it very clear that they do want Daniel Jones back. They do want Saquon back. What do you guys think? Can they get this done where both of them are back? Do you think they want to be back?
I definitely think they do. I don't think you say something like that if you don't mean it. Cause like, this is a team that also didn't exercise his 5th-year option too. So they had they weren't shy about being like, hey bro, like prove it to us, And I think that he's not going to then be like, yeah, we'd love to have him back. Then why didn't you give him his 5th-year option if that was your plan all along, I think that Danny also has to realize like Daboll was able to build an offense around my particular skill set that works. And he's got to this is the outlier year in his career where he struggled the other part of his career until he had Daboll there. And I think he's going to be like, all right, this is success. I can be successful here if I just give it time. And, hopefully we don't get a receiver like Kenny Golladay that doesn't necessarily work out except for one block through his entire contract. But if you can put some pieces around Danny and Isaiah Hodgins maybe hanging around for a while, but Richie James shouldn't be a regular receiver that you're relying on to make big plays, even though he did at times this season. Just
Cager,
get him some real receivers.
Yeah. Cager,
he was a tight end, right? He's a tight end that converted to receiver that then converted back to tight end and back to receiver again.
It's what are we doing? And I know that, we can only do so much. So that's my concern, Spartan. I don't know how you feel going into the offseason. So we got to figure out something with Daniel Jones, got to figure out something with Barkley. Of course you want to keep Williams here, but then we need a number 1 wide receiver as well. What do they do? Where do we go from here?
Hey, I'll be honest with you, and this might be controversial. I mean, I am very impressed with Daniel Jones, and I think he's definitely a phenomenal football player. We saw him have a great year. I think what the Giants might want to consider is originally I was leaning towards franchise tagging Saquon, but now I'm thinking about franchise tagging Daniel Jones. And I want to hear you guys' thoughts because it's going to be controversial. Jay Ferries is in the comments. He's going to say something pissy in a little bit here. If the Giants franchise tag Daniel Jones and force him to do another year where he proves it again to earn that big contract. I just, what are your thoughts? I'm leaning towards that right now because if we pay him, it's going to be just about as much money as, if we gave him the tag.
What do you think, Alex? Do you like that?
I don't hate that idea. And I mean, after kind of seeing what Saquon has said, where he was not necessarily, he didn't necessarily hint that he was going to do a team friendly deal, but he was like, I'm not trying to reset the running back market is pretty much what he said when he was asked about that. So it's maybe we could get like a 2-year deal, a 3-year deal with Saquon. That could be doable because it just seemed like Saquon's going to be top tier money. So you just assume we got to franchise tag that. But yeah, throwing Danny with the franchise tag it puts us in that Kirk Cousins Washington situation. But then it also it's yeah, prove it. But do the guy just not trust the organization at that point where he's like, come on guys, what did I do last year? But then again, yeah, do it 2 years in a row. We'll give you the contract after next year. What do you get? 2 years you can franchise somebody?
I'm sorry. I thought you could only do that once. I thought you can only do it once.
I thought it was once. Yeah.
You do twice?
I don't know. Didn't Cousins get franchised twice, or am I just imagining that? I don't know. Ignore that. But yeah, okay. So you do the franchise thing, and you decide if he's your guy or not. You decide if he's your guy or not. If Danny's down to do that, I'd be okay with that. But I think you can also get Daniel Jones. I know that it is about what the franchise tag would be probably, but I don't think he's going to be a Patrick Mahomes or anything like that. You could probably do a 4-year deal. What is it, $30 million a year? But then it's do we want to pay Danny $30 million a year? But you got to pay an NFL quarterback that. And if you think you can win a championship with Daniel Jones, then yeah, he's worth $30 million a year.
The average starters are very expensive on that second contract. So I mean, it's just kind of one of those things where it's look, I'm thinking more of the cushion in case Jones ever reverted, of course, right? And it's not that because I don't want anyone thinking that I feel I don't trust Jones, but that's only it would have only been his one great year. And it does happen where quarterbacks have one great year and then regress. And I'm worried because this was contract year. So that's why I wanted to do it twice. And if he knocks out of the park next year, he's going to demand even more money than this year. And at that point, I just say, the hell with it. We'll just move forward.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a good point, right? I mean, it's not a horrible way to do it. I guess my concern would be like, if you're Daniel Jones, are you just kind of like, man, like F this franchise? Like, what else do I have to do? Like, you gave me Richie James and like nobodies. I was supposed to have Kenny Galladay, made 1 touchdown. I wasn't even in the game. Like, I mean, that would be my concern of like, is he going to feel some type of way? But, I guess, hey, listen, if you want to play and you want to be here and there are rules, like Joe Shane had said today in his press conference, and there are cap constraints and you got to figure out a way to try to keep this team together. But I guess the ultimate question is really what everybody's not saying is we're still not sure if Daniel Jones is the guy. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I think you got to commit to a guy long.
And I don't want to cut you off. I'll make this quick. I feel like the answer to that question is he is the guy if he can repeat the success consistently. He's not the guy if he goes back to the way he's played previously. And again, he was with a different coach. Jones did amazing things with no wide receivers this year. Like the story, it looks like he should be better next year if they give him better receivers and everything like that. But no guarantees. That's why I just think that the best clause is Jones getting the franchise, and he's still getting paid pretty well if he gets franchise tagged. Because let me say something. Barkley's not playing on the tag. I can guarantee you that.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't see why he would. It just seemed like the most logical thing is to franchise tag him, because then it's like, well, we don't know really what the shelf life is going to be if he gets injured, then he's out. I don't know. What do you think? Like, do you think that it would be worth just like letting Saquon go at a certain point? I mean, I don't want to see that, but like looking at all the positions that we could get in a draft right now, like running back seems like there's not a lot of running backs like Saquon, but I think you could be serviceable if you get a couple of guys, because you even saw Burita and who was our third guy doing well. Like when Saquon was in his absence, but Saquon also is kind of like the catalyst of that offense, especially in the beginning
of the leader too. And I know that doesn't deserve like $20 million paychecks, but I mean, that is like, I do worry about the culture of the locker room in case he goes.
That locker room loves him. He is, and all the players have said that. Dable said it. Joe Shane said it today. Like, he is a leader in that locker room. And, that does have some value. No, I would hate to see him go. But again, let's not forget this is a business, right? At some point you have to do, unfortunately, sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do. But I think that would really, really, really hurt the locker room if he's not here.
Yeah.
Well, you just got to look at like contract. I'm just trying to think of contracts that are going to be coming up where you don't want to get in where you're just tied up with all the money. Because if you're going to give Daniel money, if you're going to give Saquon money, you're going to have to give Dexter money soon. Then Thomas's contract's going to come up. You're going to have all these guys that are going to be demanding that big time money. And it's like, are we going to be paying an aging running back still? Where like you look at what the Cowboys did with Zeke, and even though Zeke kind of had a pretty decent season this year, he was the second best running back on that team. And you're like, they sure are paying him a lot of money to be the second best running back on that team.
Yeah, and I get that, right? I mean, you don't want to listen, I understand that with the running back. It's like, you don't want to, it sucks, right? You don't want to throw all this money at them knowing their shelf life is so limited. But I just think there's something to be said for having such a strong leader in that locker room. And I think that he's the one. I mean, look at Shep, right? He's like the ultimate hype guy. He's hurt all the time, but he's still in that locker room, like hyping them up. So I would really, I'll tell you this. I'll be more devastated if Barkley's not here than Daniel Jones, because I do think that losing that leadership would really hurt the locker room.
Yeah, I'll be upset if either of them are gone. But I don't know. That's what I've been tossing that one around where it's like, I don't know. Because I honestly think when Saquon Barkley is at his best, I think he's the best running back in the league. That doesn't mean that he's the best running back in the league, but I think he's more athletic than all those other guys out there combined. Just like what he can do physically and what he can do with his speed and all of that. Just he's a one-man wrecking ball when he's at his best. But you just got to hope that he can be at his best for 70 or 80% of those games instead of 4 games a year.
Well, we will see. And we have to talk about next week's games. Spartan, do we have somebody else back there?
We do. And actually, Alex, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on, man.
No problem, guys. Thank y'all for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'd love to have you on again. You're in Houston?
Yeah, in Houston.
Where can we follow you? Where can we follow you? Twitter, Instagram? Like,
okay.
thing.
Yeah, I'm at Alex J Middleton on Twitter and Instagram. I host a podcast called Pass the Grade podcast every Wednesday. You can check that one out. I'm also on 94.5 The Buzz here in Houston. You can listen to us on the iHeartRadio app wherever you are in the country. It's called the Rod Ryan Morning Show. And then I do a podcast called Claret and Big Blue, and it is a Giants and English Premier League podcast that I do every Tuesday. So
thought I did a lot. Jeez.
Oh yeah.
Right. Alex on the grind, everybody. Make sure you follow him. He has great content. We appreciate you coming on so much. Let's get you back on for our draft party.
Yes,
absolutely.
All right.
Appreciate your time, Alex. All right, Nikki, we got one last guest. We got 9 minutes here.
We got 9 minutes. Let's do it. Bring him on. There he is.
Evan, what is going on, my friend?
What's going on, you two? Welcome. I appreciate you guys having me back on the show. What's going on?
Dude, it's always good to have you.
Yeah, thank you. What about them games? All weekend long? It was great.
It was great to see Dallas lose, yeah?
Nothing brings me more joy than Dallas Cowboys fans just cry and just cry some more when their team, them boys just lose when they're supposed to be the team of destiny. It was fantastic night. Yeah,
it was fantastic. I said in the beginning of the show, Evan, and I think you probably feel the same way. These Cowboy fans took this loss personally. Like it was like they were out there with them or something.
I don't know if you guys mentioned this on the show earlier. Did you guys happen to talk about the Dallas Cowboy tweet from the team?
Oh, no.
You didn't tweet it. You guys didn't talk about that. So Dallas, the Dallas Cowboys Twitter page tweeted like right after the game. It was about Dak. I mean, pretty much taking a shot at Dak last night. And let me bring up the tweet last night. It was really, I'm surprised you guys didn't bring it up.
It was some Cowboys on social media, my brother.
I'm sorry. It was something on the lines of, our quarterback had, threw 2 picks that could have like won us the game, and it was like taking a shot at Dak. It was pretty hilarious.
They're shady, huh?
Yeah. So here's the tweet: Dak Prescott gave away the ball twice in the narrow loss to the 49ers in a matchup the Cowboys had a chance to win if they didn't again generate self-inflicted wounds. Now this is the team's Twitter page, the team's official Twitter page, and Cowboys fans are like, "I'll allow it."
Yes.
Yeah.
Which to me, I mean. Look, Dak played poorly. Let's just say that. But I mean, every interception has a story behind it, and I don't think a lot of those interceptions were necessarily his fault. I mean, listen, Pollard went out. That's a huge loss, especially you're having the guy that's really overshadowing Zeke now as your number one guy. And when your number one guy goes down, then what do you do? So yeah. I just and look. San Fran's defense, they are a bunch of dogs, and they know how to contain, Dak Prescott and the boys in Dallas. So, listen, whatever happens going forward against the Eagles, I think 49ers are going to put up a great fight. But going forward with Jerry Jones and his emotional ties with every coach that he has, obviously Mike McCarthy is safe for now, but we'll see going forward. I mean, obviously there's probably going to be some personnel changes going forward, but we'll see going forward. I mean, is Dak your guy?
No. And we talked, I don't think we talked about that. We kind of opened with, our Giants show. Well, we're an all fans show. We're an all, NFL show. We opened with, is Dak the guy?
Right.
It's a bell curve of productivity with the dude. I mean, he has games where he really balls out, but he also has a lot of games where, he just doesn't show up whatsoever. And that's kind of the problem, right? Because if you're going to have to play, 3 or 4 playoff games, to win the Super Bowl, right? You play 3 playoff games, you go to the Super Bowl, odds are he's going to have one of those bad days in a time they can't afford it.
I'm glad that he had a bad day. Look, you're a Cowboys fan. You're a Cowboys fan that, we had a huge victory over the Bucs. That's not something to really like.
No, that is celebrate. Not a thing of pride.
Yeah, it's nothing to celebrate. Like you whooped up on a really bad Buccaneers team, and I can say that they are a terrible team this year. So you put up like more than 30 points on them. But look, you need to prepare for the San Francisco 49ers, who are a way better team than the Bucs. And I think that what Dallas was, I think they got over a little zealous right there. And, they just really fell flat on their face.
They're feeling themselves.
They're feeling themselves. Like, so were the fans. And when I see Cowboys fans punching TVs, it's great.
It's great. I mean, they really... the meltdown was the best part. Like I was upset the Giants lost to the Eagles, but watching the Dallas fans have a meltdown, just, it soothed my soul a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Like, just
you didn't need that last sip of vodka is what you didn't need, right?
Yeah, I didn't need that. I didn't need the half the edible. Didn't need none of that. I just needed to watch the Cowboys fans have a meltdown, and that centered my chi. It brought me so much zen and joy.
I'm going to turn it around on you guys. Going for these matchups for the Final Four. I think a well-deserved Final Four. I think this is all the teams that we kind of really thought were going to be in it. Out of the Final Four, who's going into the Super Bowl?
Nikki, go ahead first. Start with Eagles 49ers.
Well, while we're talking about it, let's just see what our lines are looking like. Eagles 49ers. So Eagles are 2.5-point favorite. Let me give you guys the over under 45.5.
I'll take the under on that.
Yeah, I don't think this is a high scoring game. And I think finally have the Eagles met their match. Yes, I think we all predicted this would be the NFC Championship game. I know a lot of us did. I'm trying not to be biased here, but I'm going to be a huge 49ers fan for this game.
I'm shooting for the 49ers to beat the Eagles. Among the NFC East teams, the Eagles are like right on par with the Dallas teams, which I hate. So the Giants are safe with me, Nikki.
Oh, good.
Don't worry. The Giants are okay with me. But
we appreciate that.
I think going with this matchup, it all really depends on the play of Brock Purdy in that offensive line going against, Philly's defense. And Philly's defense and San Francisco's defense are pretty much the almost exactly carbon copy like themselves. So it's going to be interesting. You got a rookie quarterback who is now in the NFC Championship game. Mr. Irrelevant is playing in the championship game. So it's really going to see how well he handles this under pressure. I mean, obviously he's been playing well, played well. He played okay against Dallas. I mean, he didn't really light it up like he did before, but the dude's 7-0. He's 7-0. So
it's like, so these two teams are like looking in a mirror basically, right? Spartan? That's what I mean.
If you can contain Jalen Hurts, then San Fran is going to win the game.
Well, I think that's just it. It's like, with Brock Purdy, I keep looking at him and expecting him to stop playing good at some point. Like, this is almost too unbelievable. And that's the only thing holding me back from saying the 49ers will win this, because I do think San Francisco is more talented.
Right.
I think their defense is better, more effective. I think their offensive coaching is better. The Eagles have off days. The 49ers haven't had one in a very long time. I do think the 49ers are better all around coming into this matchup, but again, I just don't know if Purdy's going to drop the ball at some point, if he's going to show his youth, and that could always happen.
Right. I totally agree. This is like another time we see the San Francisco 49ers go to another NFC Championship game, and it's like, okay, what could possibly hold them back from going to the Super Bowl and maybe winning one? Quarterback position once again.
Yeah,
so we're at the same spot once again at the quarterback position with San Fran. They're like a complete team, but there's always like an iffiness when it comes to the quarterback. Is he ready to fire on all cylinders? Are they ready to do this? I want to bet on the 49ers because I would love to see a Joey Burrow, Brock Purdy matchup in the Super Bowl. That's what I'm
imagining. That's what I'm rooting for. Yes.
It reminds me of old school in the 80s and the 90s where the Bengals would face off against the San Francisco 49ers, man. That's what it reminds me of. So I would love to see that happen.
1988, brother.
Yeah, I would love to see that happen, man. So yeah, that's my pick for the Super Bowl is Niners Bengals.
Bengals. I love it. That's what I want too, because I will say this, guys. I'm just gonna make this very quick about the Chiefs. The injury that Patrick Mahomes got against the drawing a blank Jaguars last week, is a very, I know you can play through it, but I have experienced it. It is really, really, really hard to put pressure on your ankle when you have a high ankle sprain. I do not expect him to be able to move around well. There's no way he can, because I'm not trying to pull out a crap like, oh, back in my day when I played, I wasn't very good. I'll just say it, but I mean, that injury is a real deal. I mean, it is not something to gloss over. He's going to play this Sunday. He's not going to play very good.
Which now that gives the Bengals, that's blood in the water, man. That's totally, they're gonna bring everything in the kitchen sink to that offensive line to try to get to Mahomes, because now you want Mahomes to try and be mobile. And if he's really nursing that ankle, and listen, they were talking about it today. He's on a boot right now. He's limited mobility. They don't want to move at all. And if he's going to be ready by this Sunday, it's going to be, you better shoot him up with like some morphine or some Darabol or something like that. That way he can move around. But it'll be interesting to see how mobile he's going to be against that Bengals defense, which, man, the Bengals defense is just super good.
Yeah.
Just super, super good.
It's like they were heartbroken. They didn't win the Super Bowl last year, and they went and like, hey, what a revelation. They addressed everything that they needed to address to make sure they put themselves in position to be there this year. Let me ask you guys, are you betting this game? Cincinnati, 1-point favorite, over under 47. Like, I don't know. I know it's Monday and that line will move a little bit, but as it stands, are you betting this game?
That's tough right now to talk on.
Bengals. I'm going Bengals.
Yeah?
Totally.
You're gonna bet that?
I'm gonna bet it. I'm also gonna bet a lot of money on the Eagles so that if they win, then like I'm miserable, but I'm rich.
Miserable and rich. That sounds
That's
good.
Tom Brady. He's miserable and rich.
He is.
Evan would know. This is a resident Tampa Bay fan here.
Listen, he gave he was on his podcast this morning, and I think he gave his co-host on the show, like he dropped the F-bomb like about the retirement. He's like, look, if I already made an effing decision about it, I would have already told my effing decision. Like he was salty. So if you ask Tom Brady about retirement, you will not get a nice answer.
All right, Thomas.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
rich and miserable.
I'm serious. I think he's probably the most miserable like goat out there right now is Tom Brady.
Because he doesn't eat. Like he does like wheatgrass shots and has soybeans.
He drinks the blood of children. That's why he stays so young and beautiful.
And then he kisses his own children and then doesn't see them on Christmas.
Yes.
Man, we've really been ripping him apart the last minute and 30 seconds. What did he do?
Listen, I can say thank you to Tommy. He gave us a Super Bowl down here in Tampa.
That's true. There we go.
It's all right.
And he gave us 2 Super Bowls.
Yes, and that's really what's important here. He gave us 2 Super Bowls, and you know that still bothers him because he is very open and talks about the fact Giant Super Bowls bother him.
He's brought it up with Eli Manning every time. And Eli's like, I never bring it up to him. He always brings it up to me.
I think that's probably why he still wants to play, is maybe play the Giants once again in the Super Bowl. That way he can have some redemption on that. Maybe that's why he's going to try. He's waiting.
He's waiting for
why he's going to trade and play till he's like 55 or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
See, I thought it was to beat the Saints, but you know what, Evan? Maybe you're right. Maybe
he has beaten the Saints. He has beaten the Saints.
I know.
So we're good on that. He already checked it off the list. It's all good.
Yeah, maybe it is to beat the Giants in the Super Bowl. If that's the case, he's going to have to play for a really long time because, we're a work in progress over here in New York. We're getting there.
He's going to be in his 50s.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean,
he's almost there.
Official predictions, a rush hour. Are we all on the same page here? We think it's going to be San Fran, Cincinnati?
Yes.
I agree.
Bengals over 49ers, 31-27.
Oh, I mean, we weren't doing scores yet, Evan, but
I'm already doing it.
He's vying for my job.
Give me the magic 8 ball, and I'm already doing it.
So shake it up. Yeah. I think it's to be a good game either way. I mean, like you guys said, this was the Final Four that we should have gotten. Of course, I would have loved the Giants to be in there, but actually kind of not, because they were so overmatched with the Eagles. I was like, if somehow they pull this out, I know I have to go to San Francisco and there's no way they're going to beat them. So it's kind of like, let's just kind of end it a little bit.
Look, at least you guys made the playoffs. Yeah. At least you guys made the playoffs. That's
a game.
You won a game. Yeah, that's all that matters.
We won a game. We're only going up from here. Evan, thanks for jumping on for the betting section, talking over under and ripping, Tom Brady again. You guys, has been another episode of Rush Hour, and we will be back next week when we will cover. Oh man, hopefully our predictions are right, because I do not want to come on here on Monday Night Spartan and say the Eagles are.
Oh, Eagles Super Bowl. Here we go again. No, don't need that.
All right, guys, we will see you next week. Go Niners. Go Bengals.
That's right.